time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
Inside the Gamecocks, the show. J.C. Sherbert, Phil Mullinax here with you on a Thursday. Sorry about yesterday. Under the weather situations around multiple parts, and we're back with you. Hope everybody is well out there. Got an action-packed show today. 3 guests coming on today. We got Chris Phillips from the Spurs Up Show joining us bottom of this hour for his weekly high-energy segment. Nick Carparelli from Bowl Season. I think that's kind of a new a rebranded bowl game group or whatever. Anyway, he can explain it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Gamecocks, where they may fit in some of these games. Also, the health of bowl games, because that's actually something that, is a big topic around college football. People talk all the time about how the bowl games are going to die with the expanded playoff and all this other stuff. If you ever talk to Mike Morgan, who's actually in the TV business, about it, he says, no. They get higher ratings than college basketball games in December. So I guess there's a lot of people gambling and just watching college ball no matter what during December and all that. And TV, as we all know, drives it. Used to be bowl games would have TV partners and stuff. Heck, some of them. I remember South Carolina played in the Liberty Bowl in '88. That bad boy was on USA Network. I remember USA. Remember Cartoon Express?
Yes.
So, that bad boy was on, USA. Most bowl games had TV partners and things like that, but ESPN and the growth of all that really is what drives it. That's why you see ESPN actually taking ownership of most of these bowl games, and they have a lot to do with it. Today's poll question is related to bowls. And it's on Twitter on thebigspur.com and also here on our YouTube page. Best bowl win for Carolina between 2011 and 2014. Is it the 2014 Independence Bowl against Miami, 2013 Citrus Bowl against Wisconsin, 2012 Outback Bowl against Michigan, or the 2011 Citrus Bowl against Nebraska? That was a tough one for me, Phil. I was at 2 of those. I was in California for the Outback Bowl when the hit happened, and I was in San Antonio, Texas for the last Citrus Bowl. But I was at the Independence Bowl in 2014 when they beat Miami, and also was at the Citrus Bowl in 2011. Got to see that Alshon Jeffrey catch at the end of the first half, which really facilitated a big second half of the Gamecocks. Gamecocks defense dominated the Cornhuskers that day, and so I thought that was kind of a good deal there. It was pretty awesome. So it's kind of a tough choice. I think if you're looking for just like big plays and memorable plays, the Outback Bowl in 2012 had the hit, and then what gets overlooked about that game because of the hits, Dylan Thompson hitting Bruce Ellington with 5 seconds left for the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
Just an amazing game. But then, in that Citrus Bowl against Wisconsin, Connor Shaw went off. They ran that, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philly special play, all that. The Citrus Bowl in 2011, Carolina had lost, I think, 3 straight bowls going into that one. Beating a team like Nebraska always is cool. And then the Miami one, I thought, there weren't a lot of people there. It was in Shreveport, but it was on ABC, national television. And I thought the Gamecocks really, kind of played as good a defense as they did all year. And then once Spurrier took over the play calling in the second quarter, the Gamecocks had some big plays to Pharaoh Cooper. So all of them were memorable. Right now, that Outback Bowl is winning on the Big Spur and on Twitter. So by about 70%. So there you go with that one. So we're going to talk a lot today about all that. But before we get started, bear with me today, folks. Happy birthday. 247th birthday, Phil, of the United States Marine Corps. I know we got some
Marine Corps,
some Marines here. Semper Fi. Thank you for your service. 247 years ago in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Marine Corps was born. Football, of course, Florida this weekend. We're going to talk a lot about that with Jamie Bradford and Chris Phillips coming up. Gamecocks, last I checked, 8.5-point underdogs at the Swamp. A little, I guess, on the article for the show today on the JC and Morgan podcast on Tuesday, Mike kind of broke down some things about the game. He's watched a lot of Florida this year. I guess the consensus is keep Anthony Richardson in the pocket.
Yeah, I heard Mike say. I was like, well, yeah, that's what we're all kind of feeling.
Good things will happen. And then I kind of talked about on my little banter there that Gamecocks need to get on the other side of the ball, get the ball in the hands of their playmakers like Juice Wells, Jaheim Bell. Beamer had some interesting comments about Marshawn Lloyd. I thought with kind of the way things looked at the beginning of the week, Marshawn wasn't going to play. Now I'm kind of up in the air. Haven't heard from, contacts when you talk to them. Usually if a contact's not going to say, he's not going to tell you one way or the other about these injuries these days until maybe game day. They'll tell you. Maybe game day they'll tell you. I didn't even report this, but there was a rumor going around that Spencer Rattler wasn't going to start at Vandy. And so I was able to get some information on that last Friday night, but that's about it. Nana's Porch chat box. Brian's in first. Morning, fellas. Krager says, missed you guys. And then the basketball team. I'm going to address this real quick because the basketball team did start on Tuesday. We hadn't had a show since then. Thought the basketball team looked decent for game one with the roster they've got. Continue to be impressed by Lamont and his pressers. That game was probably a lot closer than we think, but South Carolina State is in such transition. They hired a coach in June. He kind of cobbled together a roster. I really don't know what to think about. I mean, you never know. They may be pretty good this year. They played. I thought SC State had a lot to be proud of with how they played, but I also thought a kind of new Gamecock team with some young players and really some new faces playing with each other for the first time. I thought they were kind of resilient. You could have lost. There's been games like that have gone against the Gamecocks in previous years, and Carolina held on to win 80-77. Hayden Brown, 21 points. Burns High School Rebel. Go Rebels.
I was impressed with his play, man. It was like, when they were going to some press man, he was breaking that stuff open. I guess because they weren't accounting for him, and then dropped back into a zone there later. But it was scary, man, because their three started dropping. I'm like, oh hell, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
Game too. I'm like, great, good time to get hot.
They got and it's kind of funny because Frank Martin used to talk about this all the time, but this is the case with them. That ball screen defense, they need to tighten that up a little bit before tomorrow night. But all in all, Hayden Brown, 21 points. Gigi Jackson had a double-double in his debut, including 2 for 2 from 3.
Yeah.
You can see why, Phil, he was one of the best recruits in the country.
He looked great out there. I was happy to see him get his double-double. And, I know he's building a case for, his lottery pick next year. I mean, we all know what the story is, but hey, glad he chose to do it here, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Michi Johnson, the transfer point guard for Ohio State, I think as he goes sort of right now, it seems as he goes, the team will go. Chico Carter surprisingly did not shoot all that well. He usually does. But I'll say this, and you wouldn't believe it. I got on the ESPN predictor thing for the Clemson game tomorrow night. According to their calculations, Gamecocks have a 55% chance of winning.
I'll take it.
At home against the Tigers. Gamecocks need to it's not – Clemson's not a powerhouse in basketball, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Neither are the Gamecocks, but man, oh man, they beat Carolina. I guess Frank went up there the year after the Final Four. But they beat Carolina's Final Four team. Sindarius was out that game, but they beat him 62-60 in Columbia. Brad Purnell's had the Gamecocks number, just like Oliver Purnell before him. Mm-hmm. So South Carolina, who I think Clemson is something like 18, 19 games up in the series since Frank McGuire left South Carolina. Gamecocks need to win this game. I mean, if they can. Now, I never put much stock in the ESPN predictor. I think it's a lot of, I don't know. I don't know what data they use. I'm not a big data guy because you got to go play the game. But to see that means, the computer somewhere is higher on Carolina than Clemson at this point. Clemson beat Citadel 80-69. It was a similar kind of too close to comfort game for them up at Little John. And, and I know college basketball starts too early, but I wanted to mention that and get that out of the way just before, because we're going to ask Chris a basketball question or two, and also Jamie Bradford. And then we'll talk more about it tomorrow, because tomorrow night, Gamecocks play Clemson. Everybody go get your tickets, man. I didn't expect a huge crowd for SC State, although normally it is. But that's what you get for playing basketball on election night, right? People are doing other things. But I think there needs to be a good crowd for Clemson. I think that would help a lot. And, the Tigers will bring some fans down, too. It's a Friday night game. Seth says, good morning, guys. The Macadino podcast chimes in. Morning, fellas. Why are almost everybody that cover college football talking about the Gamecocks defense being bad when Florida has the second worst defense in the SEC and is behind Vandy? I think it's recency bias, maybe.
I was going to say your inability to really stop the run in the past couple of games, knowing that that's how Florida is going to try to attack it. I mean, it's the one kind of weakness everybody's looking at.
Yeah, I personally feel like the defense can have a rebound game, but I also feel like Florida's good enough on offense. They're going to put points on the board, so you can't go down there and expect to win 10-3, especially with the way Florida's playing defense. That would be very, very embarrassing. Or to quote Office Space, that would be bad. Very bad.
Very bad.
That is very, very bad. Carolina's got to get it in the hands of their playmakers and score points. And I think the defense, as long as they tighten up a bit, get back to that level, the Kentucky level, the Texas A&M level, the last three quarters against Missouri. I mean, you're going to give up yardage. Richardson's going to get his plays. In the red zone, you got to hold them to field goals. You got to force turnovers, that kind of thing. Special teams always will be a helpful thing if you get a big play there. And so that's the deal there. But yeah, I don't understand that narrative that I guess people have seen the South Carolina offense struggle, and they're like, well, now the defense is bad, just because of that Vandy. And look, let me just say this about the defense: they had bad games against Arkansas and Georgia. Didn't have a bad game, had a bad quarter really against Missouri. Not a bad game, a quarter. And then they had a bad game at Vandy. I don't know what happened at Vandy. Maybe it's because, somebody said that the field was maybe slick with the field turf and they were slipping. But, something was off in that football game with the way Vandy was able to move it. But I think these guys are certainly a better defense than what they showed there. If you look at the totality of the season, Florida is tied for first in the conference in turnover margin. So I don't know if they're going to turn it over. So you have to stop them. You have to get it off the field. And I get, because they struggle with Vandy, this feels like a game where you go, well, like KJ Jefferson before him, or name your quarterback before that has that kind of skill set. He's going to destroy Carolina. But look, man, A&M's not very good on defense either, and I do think Richardson had a good game at A&M, and I think he really kind of came on second half against Georgia too. But, man, he's been up and down. So we'll see kind of what happens. I do think the Gamecocks have to put points on the board and be consistent on offense to have a shot. But a lot of teams have been really good against Florida offensively when they're not normally. So we'll see what happens. I look at that LSU game, Phil, and I see Daniels had kind of a breakout game against them, and you kind of hope maybe last week set the table for Spencer Rattler to go out there and make some things happen, or maybe the Dacaria Joyner package comes back. I think regardless of Marshawn Lloyd being in the game, healthy or not, you still need to kind of run that style of offense. I mean, where you're attacking the perimeter with runs, making them defend the entire field. That's only going to open things up for Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to spread them out too, because speed is not something that Florida is lacking on that side of the ball. So if you got everybody bunched in there close, then you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things. Jared says Cox have some positives, but depth is not on their side. Yeah, I mean, you got like guys like Zach Davis and Hank and Sanford. I mean, those are freshmen. Josh Gray, I thought looked improved. I think he can get even better. But you're right. This is not a terribly deep team. And when Johnson went out at point, that's when things kind of slagged. VJ says, "What's going on, gang? Don't fear the logo. Florida is beatable." Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If Florida, if Carolina were going to play like Mississippi State, and they had or Ole Miss, and they had similar results, I think people would be like, "Oh, what? I think we'll be expecting a victory." But it's the Swamp and it's the Gators, and dude, you saw after they beat Utah the tremendous amount of hype around that program for a week.
Yeah.
Boy, oh my God, Richardson's winning. Heisman. Napier's going to turn it. This is why
Florida's back. Yeah,
they're
it
back.
was all in there.
Guess who's back? Back again. And then all of a sudden, Kentucky popped that balloon pretty good. And then it's been kind of funny since Napier's been there because they've been they hired Napier they fired Mullen because of recruiting. I kind of think with Mullen, it's that old adage that if you're a butthole, you better be good at your job.
Yeah, you got to be the best.
Because if you that's fine as long as you're good at your job, but if not, you're getting fired. And so I think that's the deal there. But they fired Mullen allegedly because of recruiting, and then twice this year they've lost recruits to Miami that they thought they had, to the point where with Cormani McClain, the cornerback from Lakeland of all places that went to Miami, to the point where the media was talking like, this is why you hired Billy Napier. And that didn't happen. By the way, I didn't intentionally wear this gator colored shirt today. But anyway, maybe else. I wanted to go a little brighter colors today, I guess.
Well, speaking of recruiting, JC, how about Carson Hobbs and his decommitment, and then turn right around for Notre Dame? I know it's not quite that crazy for a kid from Ohio, I think, and feeling a pull from the Irish, but hate to see anybody leave the 2024 class.
Yeah, especially him. He's going to go up in his ranking and all that. But I said the other day, about Cincinnati Moeller, where Archbishop Moeller, where he plays. I mean, dude, when Notre Dame offered, I was like, that's going to be ominous because, I mean, that's where Gary Faust, Notre Dame hired Gary Faust out of the high school ranks from that high school. They have a long, not every Moeller kid goes to Notre Dame. Some go to Ohio State or whatever, but they have a long history there. It's closer than South Carolina. It stinks from the standpoint of, hey, if you can get a guy from a place like Moeller in Cincinnati where you haven't recruited a whole lot, more power to you. He's a really good player, but I think the Gamecocks will be fine recruiting secondary guys. But anyway, that's it. Jeff Fowler comes in. Happy 247th birthday, USMC. Thanks for the show, guys. Go Cox and Semper Fi.
That's right. Thank you for your service, sir, and happy birthday to the Marine Corps.
Cool. Rick says, I was at the Wisconsin Citrus Bowl, the Whiskey Citrus Bowl, but the Clowney Bowl is the most memorable. And, I mean, just so many, like, iconic play. And the way it went right down to the wire in that one was interesting, I thought. Just the back and forth in that game. And then, Connor Shaw was injured, and you had to put in a Dylan Thompson there at the end. And then, and Carolina, in that game, Carolina had blown a lead. Ace Sanders had a big punt return. I mean, they were throwing bombs and returning punts for touchdowns. I thought they were going to blow Michigan out. Well, then here comes Michigan back. And then there was that one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
Down stop that wasn't, and then the ultimate ball don't lie play right after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, that spot would have gone, if Carolina had lost that game, that spot would have gone down in infamy.
Yeah.
But Jadeveon and Clowney just took it upon himself to knock Vincent Smith out. And then Phil, that play was awesome. The hit was awesome. But the fact that he then recovered the football with one hand, and he just had a little bit more balance, may have housed that.
Yeah.
Like if he hadn't been falling down when the only thing that would have made that play better is if he would hit the guy, scooped up the ball with one hand and trucked toward the end zone. I mean, that play was the talk of college football that entire offseason. And unfortunately, the Gamecocks replaced Brad Loring with Deke Adams, and Clowney affected the games the next year, but I think he only had 3 sacks. So, but that was his best year, his sophomore year. He was really, really good, really, really good. VJ says that Shaw Alshon toss to end the first half was crazy too. Yeah, that was in the Nebraska one.
The Nebraska game, yeah.
And I was actually there. I was actually there. Nebraska was doing pretty well. And then that catch at the end, I think it gave the Gamecocks a 16-13 lead. There was a safety in that game. Really, that game, I was impressed with because the Gamecocks had quite a crowd there. I was impressed with the number of Nebraska fans that were there too. Unbelievable. You talk about them being really good fans, and they are. But I having started following football, and being covering and looking at this program in the '80s, I kind of felt like the Gamecocks owed the Huskers one.
Yeah,
because there were 2 games in '86 and '87 that really, like '86, Nebraska was like a 30-point favorite. Todd Ellis is driving the Gamecocks down the field. And I listened to the game, Bob Fulton on the radio. It wasn't on TV. It's 27-24 Huskers. Ellis is driving down the field. He's like, Bob Fulton was like, call no interception. Carolina. Yeah, Todd, no interception. Yeah, I can't do – Todd threw the ball. He didn't call the game. But and then the next year, Ellis and Sharp and Bethea and those guys, they get up 21-13 in Lincoln, and then Nebraska outscores them 17-0 in the fourth quarter. And Carolina scared the bejesus out of them. I mean, Nebraska at the time was one of the best programs in the country, so it was good. So I felt like the Gamecocks owed the Cornhuskers one. The Gamecocks routinely have beaten Michigan all of a sudden. And then Wisconsin, and then Miami also, there was some history there because Carolina hadn't played Miami since '87, and that game was another one where Carolina could have won. Miami won the national championship. That game was actually in the Orange Bowl after the Clemson game. It was one of those special games. Obviously, that was before you had SEC championship and all that. And my dad took us down, flew us down to Miami, and I remember South Carolina played Miami in basketball at one of those holiday tournaments. See, this is why I miss the holiday tournaments. Yeah. Miami played basketball in this rinky-dink arena that was part of like a Hyatt Regency.
Dude, like a small like Omni in Atlanta.
Way smaller. The micro Omni. I mean, it was like the black box theater at USC Upstate. You just put bleachers in there and play ball. And there were more Gamecock basketball because everybody Gamecocks I think sold 5,000 tickets for that football game, so they had a big contingent. Well, who wasn't going to go to the basketball game? So the Gamecocks had this gigantic basketball crowd for a holiday tournament, and I remember them chanting "Football's next, football's next." But what a great experience there. But I thought Carolina owed the Hurricanes a little bit too because after that there was a fight during that game. It's on YouTube for those of you that are young and want to go look at it. Miami's taking cheap shots all day. They slammed Todd Ellis to the ground. Gamecocks lost by 4. That was a better game than when Jimmy Johnson was the coach at Miami. Jimmy Johnson made the point because they played, I think, Oklahoma or Nebraska won. It was Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl for the national title and beat them 20-7. They said the Carolina game was more climactic and exciting than that Oklahoma game. So that was a very good memory there too. So anyway, that's the deal there. Cynical Air, says since Tennessee's hooker gave Florida hell by extending plays, hopefully Rattler will get the boots and waggle plays so he can run around. Boots and waggles. I think it's important to get him out of the pocket.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to have to scheme that up and not just rely on, breakdowns and protection for that to happen, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. Craig Goodwin says, listen to a Florida insider yesterday, Kreger, by the way. He said they're awful at defending big, strong tight ends. If we scouted correctly, expect Stogg, Atkins, and Bell, unless he's playing running back, to have a big day. Yeah, Stogner was one of the few guys. I think he had one catch for -1 yards. So that'll happen. Brian says Darius Rush had a 16-minute presser, and I'm convinced he's our most cerebral player on the team. How about that? There's a lot of guys that are. I mean, Devontae Reed's if you ever listen to him, he's very cerebral. But I think Darius and Josh Vann have a podcast. It's a good listen. Lady Bree says, hope all y'all are well. Lady Bree says, hey guys, I still need to know how you feel about me still participating in your show as I pursue my own. I didn't see this moving so fast, but things have accelerated due to Zach's mom agreeing to do an interview. Have a premiere date to announce and all kinds of exciting news, but don't want to do anything you guys are not okay with on your show. Hold on. Let me see if I give any darns about that. Nope, I'm all out of darns.
No, I could join anytime.
Come on, join anytime. I mean, this is not. I mean, look, Chris comes on our show and I go on his every week, and we have an hour overlap, which I wasn't aware of when I kind of wanted to slide into the JB and Goldwater slot and do something that made sense for Phil and I. And I didn't, dumb me, I didn't even check to see if we were going head to head with Chris. So. And it's all good. I mean, everything's fine. This isn't the premium website business when you're talking about the Gamecocks and competition and all that good stuff. I think I love what I call the Gamecock podcasting ecosystem or media content creator ecosystem, I guess. And that's fundamentally different than the BigSpur.com because that's a news organization, the Big Spur, Gamecock Central. We're news organizations with a community. This is part of a creator community, and I think the more the merrier. And I wish you all the best on that. Really, I do. I really wish you the best. And so it's fine. You can continue to hang out here all you want. The more the merrier. Clint says, just got out of a meeting. How are we feeling about Saturday? I actually think we have a good shot. I'm probably going to pick the Gamecocks.
I'm leaning that way myself.
Leaning
Gamecocks right now.
It may be a homer pick, but leaning that way myself. Zach mentions need 100 yards rushing. Carolina's 5-0 when rushing for 100 yards or more. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? That little paltry, tiny bit of rushing yards.
100 yards
means all the difference. 100 yards, $1 million. 100 yards.
That's the equivalent of it right now.
The Gamecocks are going to rush for 100 yards. Anyway, when Lady Bree says, I love you guys. Lance says, I just love drinking beer and watching ball. So don't think a show is in my future. Well,
I felt the same way, Lance. That's exactly how I felt probably a year ago today. And look where the hell we are now.
Oh, man. That's a good note to end it right there. Thanks to the Nana Sports chat box for the participation. We have 2 mailbag questions today, or 3 that we got to get to that we'll get to later. Don't forget, big guest show. Chris Phillips up next, high energy. And then at 12:15, we have the guy from the bowl season, Carparelli, I think's his name. Nick Carparelli, is that right?
Carparelli.
Nick Carparelli. Remind me of that before we go on, so don't mispronounce his name. You don't want to mispronounce any Italian last names ever. Just for and then Jamie Bradford, who was supposed to go yesterday, joins us. All right, we'll be back after these messages. Chris Phillips here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're a listener, you know I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker King.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, hour on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
What's up? This is Jaheim Bell with the Gamecocks, and you're now listening to Inside the Gamecocks show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. The first hour of the show is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team over in the upstate. Give Cindy a call for all your upstate residential real estate needs, 864-414-5271. And we are joined now on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by Chris Phillips. Chris, how are we feeling today, man?
I'm feeling pretty good, if you can't tell. How we feeling, boys?
Oh, man, you're looking good. Look at you.
Well, so funny story. So we're down here in Hilton Head. We had our event last night with our good friends at Carolina Cigars, which was awesome, and we had a good time. And I'm getting set up to do the show this morning in my Airbnb. Beautiful Airbnb, by the way, but the Wi-Fi just was not it, right? So I was like, we got to call an audible. We got to make an adjustment. Thought about doing the live show here tomorrow anyways, and I hit up my good friend Tom, said, hey, man, you want to rock it today and tomorrow? So this is where we're going to be at the next 2 days, man. But there are worse setups, worse situations to be in for sure. So, but great to see you guys. How are y'all feeling, by the way? You can't tell. I'm not sick. I'm a little stuffed up, though. You know, it's going around. How y'all feeling? I saw y'all called off the show yesterday. We had a couple sicknesses hit or what?
Talk about an audible. Yeah, it's nausea. No, it's a 24-hour bug. I'm probably not 100% still today, but
It's that time of year, man.
You got to power through. I mean, look, if I didn't
have to,
if we're for nausea, I'd have probably powered through. I just couldn't do it. So anyway, Chris, we'll talk a little basketball to start with. What were some of your impressions? If you watched the game Tuesday night, thoughts about that, thoughts about the game with Clemson tomorrow. Chris is frozen up.
Oh, yep.
It's all right. We're all good. By the way, in the Nana Sports chat box, Lady Bree is right about this spying thing. Put a spy on Anthony Richardson. I think that's spot on there. I think that's kind of the thing. Step up, have a solid performance up front, and all that good stuff. So, internet sometimes is
you gotta love it.
The Muschamp ghost, like he says. All
that. That's it exactly. That's all right.
We'll be back
in a minute. Oh yeah. Oh, he's back. Let me put them back in there. There you go.
Has more issues than me. Nobody. Literally. Nobody. I don't know why people go. I don't know why people tune in. It's just daily.
Nothing compared to Michael Flint. Nothing compared to Michael.
Fair enough. And
it's awesome. We love it. It's not but every episode, like his webcam will fall over. And he just gets up and goes, and the kids will come walking in asking him a question. I mean, it's every time he's on with us, it's like that. But it's all good. So basketball, I was just asking about the game Tuesday. What your thoughts were, initial impressions, and then moving into tomorrow's night's game with Clemson. The ESPN prediction machine actually says 55% Carolina will win tomorrow night.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're 1-0, and closer than we all expected, but a little bit closer than we expected, but great to see Gigi Jackson. I thought Hayden Brown looked good, Michi Johnson. I think that's going to be the trio that carries this team, especially Michi and Gigi. I go into it with no expectations, guys. I mean, I really feel like Lamont Paris, I look at it similarly to how we looked at year one of Shane Beamer. You're just kind of figuring out what you got this year. You know what I mean? And I think depth is the biggest concern for this team, but I think they should have a good shot to beat Clemson, who's also kind of retooling and rebuilding, if you will. So I think they'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch them grow and progress. And again, obviously, if we're being honest with ourselves, a little bit close. Preferred the other night, but glad to see Lamont Paris 1-0. And I'm more so just intrigued to see what the brand of basketball is, overall. It's not even so much about how many games they win and lose. And hey, I mean, you were picked to finish dead last. So if you do better than that, right, you exceeded expectations. So, but excited to watch Gigi, Michi. I think those are going to be the guys that carry the team. And, my greatest as you get into conference play is just the depth. I think lack of depth, but love what I saw from Hayden Brown as well. And, I think they get a couple of these big men back from injuries. I think that'll also help them tremendously. But, I'm excited for what Lamont Paris is doing.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like a better brand of basketball from the fan standpoint. I know the folks that were not fired up about Frank Martin and his demonstrative ability on the side. The thing I got was breath of fresh air, as far as like his sideline demeanor versus Frank's and all that good stuff. All right, so this game with Florida, and I was talking to Mike Morgan the other day on our podcast, and I think it's pretty much a consensus. You got to find a way to slow Richardson, not let him run all over you. I also look at it, Chris, and it's like they've got some games this year where they've been able to run it with their backs pretty well. ETN, Johnson, they're really a good running football team. That's not been the Gamecocks' strong suit, but I also think at the same time, there have been some games, Kentucky A&M come to mind, where the Gamecocks have been able to slow the run a bit. So your take on that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I've been beating people over the head, guys, with this statistic all week, but I'll say it again. Florida's 5-0 when they rush for 210 or more yards, 4 when they rush for less than that. So obviously the key for them is running the football. I also thought what's interesting, kind of a side note, South Carolina, of course, 6-0 when they force a turnover, 0-3 when they don't. Florida has not turned the football over in their last 3 games. So the Gamecocks will have to do something and force Florida to do something they have not done of late. Anthony Richardson has done a much better job, obviously, of taking care of But yeah, I mean, the running game is their bread and butter, right? And you look at Richardson averaging 6.6 yards per carry. I think that's number one amongst all quarterbacks in college football. Spoke with Florida guys earlier this week. The name that obviously stands out, I think, the Gamecock fans is ETN because we're familiar with his brother at Clemson, but they love the Johnson kid. They love the way he runs the football. So that three-headed monster in the backfield, man, I mean, I think challenge for South Carolina. And listen, it's interesting, right? Because JC, you mentioned Kentucky A&M defensive line took over. They were flying around making plays. It's hard to go into this one with a ton of confidence, though, after watching the Gamecocks get pushed around by Vanderbilt. So it's like which D-line shows up, right? So, I mean, the battle in the trenches, like it is every week in the SEC, I mean, it's going to come down to. But South Carolina, on their side, should also be able to run the football because Florida can't stop anybody, whether it be pass, whether it be run, what have you. So I think both running games are going to thrive on Saturday, but certainly slowing them down, limiting. I'm sure you'd agree, JC. I know you love to talk about the quarterback run game. They've got to limit, take something away from Anthony Richardson, right? You just can't let him do both. Get him back to early season Anthony Richardson where he's throwing the ball in traffic and turning it over. I think if he's at his best on Saturday, it's going to be really tough for South Carolina to get the W.
Yeah, I agree with you. You can't let him go crazy. And I think just kind of with the nature of this offense, there's been some defenses at times that I wouldn't call great that have gotten the best of Carolina going back to the Arkansas game. So I think that, Shane Beamer was a little bit more confident in Marshawn Lloyd playing this weekend. Here's my concern about that is if Lloyd plays, are they going to kind of still try to do the same things they did against Vandy offensively? Because that seemed to get everybody involved, get them settled in. I think you can do it. I mean, I think you just give the carries you were going to give to Bell to Lloyd, and I think that could actually make Lloyd even more effective.
I mean, we definitely want to see that creativity carry over, right? And it just felt like they were playing with a bit of a freedom, a looseness. Like Lloyd being out, like you mentioned, JC, they were forced to do something else. Like they think outside the box, right? So, obviously you'd love to see, and it's funny, I've got SEC Network on in the background, and they're showing Shane Beamer and Billy Napier. So it's kind of ironic. But, no, go down the field, stretch the field with Xavier Legette like you did again, Josh Vann, Antoine Wells. Let your playmakers make plays. I mean, it sounds so simple, but at times I think it really is. Again, Florida's given up 250 yards per game to the 80 on the ground. I mean, from people I've talked to, this is like one of the historically bad Florida defenses, right? So, I mean, you should be able to have some success, but I know we've all got that pit in our stomach. It's like, is Sat going to turn back into Sat? Is the offense going to turn back into what we saw before? So, hey, this is a great opportunity, though, on the flip side of that, to continue build momentum. You got a couple of defenses with Florida and Tennessee that, hey, those are tough games to win, but their defenses you should be able to have success against. So great opportunity for Spencer Rattler and, of course, getting Marshawn Lloyd back, giving him those carries to Bell. I'm sure you guys would agree. I mean, I love seeing Bell get the touches, but I think he's definitely most lethal in the passing game, exposing matchups in that way. But, I mean, I hope continue to see that creativity. I'd like to see some more up-tempo, just spreading the field, though, getting it to your playmakers. Hey, Dak Joyner if it calls for it, right? I'm not saying the guy should be QB1, but I just don't understand why when you couldn't move the football against Mizzou, he didn't even get a look. Like, why was that left in the chamber? You know what I mean? That was what was so confusing. So great opportunity, though, to keep offensive momentum going or at least continue to as we go into the end of the season.
Yeah, you got to sit there and attack for sure, I think, with the balance. I kind of like Xavier Legette getting carries from scrimmage, Chris. I think that kickoff return has given him some confidence with the ball in his hands. He's a big, fast kid. And, I kind of liked him carrying it on those end arounds and things, too, on Saturday night.
Yeah, and side note, guys, I think we should mention Xavier Legette. I think that's been one of the best stories of the season. Xavier Legette, a guy that, I think most people just completely wrote him off after the SC State game. It's, a lot of people saying he should never play again, shouldn't see the field. And that was not his best night, but the way he bounced back and not just bounce back and play and have a catch here or there, but like he's made some game-changing plays, right? The Texas A&M kickoff return, the first touchdown to really get it going against Vandy. So that's been a cool story to follow. But, I mean, yeah, guys, again, getting your playmakers on the field, if you want to use them as eye candy, you actually want to give them the ball, like, why not? You know what I mean? Make the defense think, put them on their – take advantage. These athletes can't do anything or make plays if they're sitting on the bench. So, again, we hope to see that continued creativity for sure.
Absolutely. Get back to the defense, too. I think one guy I did not think played bad against Vandy was Zach Pickens. I thought he was kind of really good. I think they were missing something at the other spots. The linebackers, that's going to be critical. They have to play better than they did with Vandy, and then you had a secondary that was kind of a mash unit, as Beamer said at the end, and that can affect your run game on the perimeter as well. But man, I just think we've seen Sherrod Green have good games. I've seen him have bad games. He's been up and down. Same with Brad Johnson. Brad, I thought, had a good game against Florida last year. I think that type of defensive performance where, Carolina kept Emory Floyd and their rushing attack. It was a different offense, right? But kept them from running the ball, 82 yards of rushing. I think they have to be locked in like that game, like the bowl game against North Carolina. We've seen them do it. The question is, will they?
Yeah, it's just what are you going to get, right? Because I've seen times where I think Sherrod Green's ready to take over as the leader of the defense and kind of be that guy in the middle, and there's other times he just looks lost, right, guys? I mean, it's just call it for what it is. But I would expect South Carolina to be on the attack defensively on Saturday. I mean, again, you have to stop the run to have any chance, right? You got to make Anthony Richardson beat you through the air, and you feel like that plays right into your hands, right? The secondary that I noted last night, that Torian Gray, I mean, the job he's done has just been incredible, right? You lead the SEC in picks again. And, guys, I'll tell you this. For this football team at this point, right, for everybody, right, we're going into Game 10. I don't think you're going to reinvent the wheel here. You're not going to reinvent yourself as a football team. South Carolina needs to be opportunistic defensively. They need to win in special teams and pray to God they get enough on offense to score more than the other team. I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to, right? So, like, even if you're not, if Florida's going to be able to move the ball a little bit, they're going to have some success, right? They're doing a good job for them offensively, but you just need to be, if the opportunity's there, man, and whether Richardson's willing to take a shot, throw it into traffic, or you got a free swipe at the football at Johnson or Etienne or Richardson or whoever. Just being opportunistic, you know what I mean? But linebacker play for sure. I mean, we've seen a lot of Stone Blanton, obviously. So, I mean, there's a reason they're recruiting that position so heavily. But like you mentioned, like Brad Johnson, he could be somebody to watch for, and maybe Debo Williams. But you're looking for guys right now to step up at that linebacker position because you can't put it all in the front four, right? They need help at that next level. So I would expect, again, Pickens to lead you up front, like you mentioned. But, Jordan Birch containing the edge, containing the quarterback run game, going to be pivotal in this one. Gilbert Edmond, both those edges, if you will. So the work cut out for him for sure because, again, this is a Florida team that has run the football well pretty much all year.
Yeah, against Missouri, they went for 231 on the ground, only 66 passing yards to the air.
But that's a good Mizzou defense. That's a really good defense.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Missouri does against Tennessee. That's kind of an interesting
20.5 point dogs in that game. 20.5 point dogs. Yeah.
I think it's probably because Missouri can't. I think the Tennessee defense is licking its chops for that much.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see what happens. So, our poll question today was about bowl games, and so we'll take it down memory lane here as we wrap up. From 2011 to 2014, Gamecocks won 4 straight, concluding with that Independence Bowl. So 2011 Citrus, 2012 Outback, 2013 Citrus, 2014 Independence. Which was the best one, in your opinion?
You know what's funny, JC, too? I normally do see the poll questions you guys put out just because I'm looking at your Twitter right before we come on. So I did see it, and I was thinking about it just before we went live. And there's been some great ones, right? Like, I think the win over Miami, super underrated just because that season didn't exactly go how we wanted. But, that was a great game, right? The Pharaoh Cooper game, Dylan Thompson, Pharaoh Cooper game. 11's cool because it was the first 11-win season in school history. You beat Nebraska. And I've heard some really cool stories about Steve Spurrier pointing to the Nebraska when the team arrived at the stadium saying, hey, they've got all these trophies and championships and tradition, but it doesn't matter. None of that matters today. Like really cool pregame stories, but I got to go with 2012, man. The hits. I mean, 2012 had more I remember where I was moments in it than many, many games I've watched for South Carolina. Like the hit, game-winning touchdown pass, Ace Sanders punt return. I mean, that was just a great football game, right, overall. So, and the hit, I think, would stand out as one of the most iconic moments in Gamecocks football history. So I got to go 2012. That was the Outback, right? Outback?
The Outback Bowl,
yeah. I got to go 2012 Outback, man. That game, that was an all-time classic.
Yeah, I think it's just the individual game plays and memories in that one. And it wasn't just the hit. As you mentioned, I think Nick Jones had a big touchdown pass early. There was the Sanders punt return.
Yeah.
Dylan Thompson comes off the bench on the final drive. That was just and you know what's crazy about it, all folks out there. I was actually working in covering recruiting for 24/7 Sports National. I was in Los Angeles and listening to the game on ESPN radio. So I missed all of those moments live.
I
had to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember the hit running out of my living room like a child, dude, screaming. Yeah. Just couldn't believe it.
I heard it, and until I saw it when I got back, it was just it wasn't necessarily something that registered as much as it did at the time. So, all right, you're giving a prediction tomorrow on the show. You got any leans for us?
Yeah, I'll save it for tomorrow. I will be honest, I'm leaning the Florida way, especially after I just read. I didn't realize that Florida had not turned the football over in 3 games. So you can look at it one of two ways. Either they're due or they're doing a much better job protecting it. And, I think the recipe for similar for South Carolina, special teams, opportunistic defense, and, just enough offense. Again, this should be a great opportunity for the offense to score. I think the Gamecocks have got to score 30+ to win, though. So I think it is a shootout. I'm leaning the Florida way. Again, I will save the prediction for tomorrow. But, yeah, I'm leaning Gators. And at home, guys. We haven't talked about the Swamp. You've only won there twice in your history.
Yeah, did and
so
really
to insinuate that it's some easy place to play is a fallacy, right? So.
Yeah, it's been strange. I'll never forget the 2018 Florida game. My goodness, who could forget that?
What was it, 31-14, I think, and you lost?
Gamecocks are rolling.
Felipe Franks shushing his own crowd.
All Florida did was run the ball too. I mean, they just lined up and said, "You're not going to stop it." Yeah. Disappointing day, my chef said, just an excruciating loss. And I was like, I bet it is. I mean, that one hurt him. You could tell that one hurt him because he wins that one. He's 2-1 against the Gators in his 3rd year. There's not the Mullen hype that offseason. It may have been Carolina that had gotten a bigger bowl game, but they lost. And that was kind of, another one of those red flag games about that era. So, I think the Swamp's a difficult place to play. I think it's a lot harder at night when they're got a big sellout crowd, and some of their earlier kickoffs are not as loud, but I think it's one of those things where I think you do have to respect that home field and all that. So, all right, Chris, we appreciate you joining us today. I guess I'll see you here after this show and join you, and looking forward to that. Yeah, JC Phil, always a pleasure. Great talking ball with y'all. And JC, we'll talk at 1:15, my friend. I appreciate it. All right, thanks so much. Talk soon. Chris Phillips live on and it's live from Hilton Head. From Hilton Head, nice. Yeah, I love Hilton Head. My granddaddy, my late grandfather, he passed in 2017. He used to call Hilton Head the end of the earth because it's the end of South Carolina, and he's always he always had a lot of interesting stuff to say about Georgia too. He's like he tell jokes about Georgia people. About this old Georgia boy. It's like, so he never liked to leave our state. He called that the end of the earth. Hilton Head, South Carolina. So anyway, I tend to agree with Chris and the whole narrative about the run game. The thing that I get, though, is this. I think when you look at the Florida defense and throw away the fact that it's whatever this offense is supposed to be schematically or whatever, South Carolina has enough playmakers to put points on the board. Yeah. Especially if Marshawn Lloyd plays in the game and is effective. The Florida's given up over 6 yards per play. A&M went up and down the field on them. Yeah, missing 18 guys, and Haynes King was a quarterback, believe it or not. I think that the Gamecocks are when you look at the stats, Gamecocks are middle of the pack defensively in the SEC. I don't think it's a great defense. I think obviously what happened in Nashville was embarrassing, but I almost think it serves to maybe get those guys' attention on that side of the ball a little bit and say, hey, you need to tighten up, or this is going to be a winnable game that you're going to blow because you can't stop anybody. Heck, if I were Shane Beamer, I'd show them the film from 2018. See what they do. They're just going to line up on you and run over you.
This is what can happen. Yeah.
They're just going to run over you. By the way, the head ball coach has some T-shirts out there. Half garnet and black, half orange and blue. It says the head ball coach bowl. And I mentioned this on the show previously. Because Mark Stoops is now the winningest coach in Kentucky history, and past Bear Bryant, Bear Bryant used to be the winningest coach in Alabama and Kentucky for a long time. Well, now Spurrier is the only guy to ever do it at 2 Power 5 schools.
That's right. The only one, the last man standing, winningest coach at 2 big programs.
His quote was, "So get to see my Gamecocks coming here and play against my Gators." I'm sure he'll have a Gators shirt on. And I'll remind everybody before we get too sentimental that after last year's win by South Carolina, 40-17 over Florida, he said it was embarrassing. So I don't know. I don't know. So that's one of the things there. Brent talks about that Outback Bowl, which, by the way, it's actually the poll is less close than I anticipated. I thought maybe there'd be a little bit more. Chris was right about that Independence Bowl being a little bit underrated, but I thought maybe there'd be more sentiment for beating Nebraska that year in Alshon's last game, or beating Wisconsin and Connor Shaw's last game. That's that game with the hits and the passes and the fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was kind of the best. That was that as far as like big moments, though. Chris is right. That was the best game and all that. 76 Gamecock says, "Be nice to see our offense put it together against Florida, who isn't great on defense." That's true. South Carolina should be able to score. I mean, I'll tell you this. If Marshawn Lloyd is playing and if Carolina can run the football and maybe throw it to the tight ends or whatever, as he mentioned, that keeps Florida's offense off the field.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've come on in the past few games, so it's like you're going to have to – and it's good training for what you're going to have to do at home the next week, because your game plan 2 Saturdays from now has got to be keep the ball out of their hands.
I have not even thought about that game plan yet.
No, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, that both sides of the ball just need to be focused on keep the ball out of their hands.
If you look ahead at Tennessee, though, the problem is Tennessee's run defense is 11th in the country.
I know, yeah. It's like they can still stop you that way.
They're 11th in the country in run defense and 101st in total defense. Mm-hmm. So maybe you do have to. I was surprised that Alabama was able to run it on them pretty good. I was surprised that they went out and went bombs away to begin with. I think with Tennessee, you just can't do one thing. If you want to get first downs, because their defense is really good. If you're one dimensional, they'll tee off on that. They're fast, and they got a lot of guys that are experienced and things. But you got to do both things. But you've also got to be aware that if you can almost score too fast in those situations and all that. And then defensively, I don't know. I'll be curious to see how Missouri plays them this weekend, because that's a good Missouri defense as well. So Zach says Florida's defense is weaker than Wellwater. Joey says if South Carolina replicates the offense that was at Vandy plus Lloyd, they will win versus Florida. I don't see a reason why you don't. I mean, Marcus Satterfield at his press conference, it was another interesting one this week, but he's not going to give away the game plan. I didn't like the Missouri, we didn't run enough plays.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway,
that's very curious. I'm going to run 110 plays. It's an evil playbook. It's evil.
I'd love to give it to him 1,000 times.
1,000.
We're all
1,000 carries.
1,000 carries.
1,000. Come, Mr. Bigglesworth. We must go to a break. Dude, that's a heck of a name for a cat, Mr. Bigglesworth.
That's Mo Hardesty.
Mo Hardesty's Mr. Bigglesworth. Come, Mr. Bigglesworth. We must devise an evil running back rotation. Let's put Tonka Hemingway at running back.
That's right, yeah.
All right. We'll be back after these messages. Don't forget, we've got Nick Carparelli. Nick
Carparelli.
Nick Carparelli from bowl season coming up, 12-15. And then our boy, we love him. We appreciate him being flexible, coming on with us today, Jamie Bradford, at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back after these messages. It's Inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you're a listener, you know I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. nanasporch.com. Go there, food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. JC Sherwood and Phil Mullinax. Second hour of the show is brought to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX at the Lake. Give Adam or Derek a call. Shoot them an email at aburgesson, that's ABERGESON, at remax.net for your commercial or investment real estate needs.
All right, back to the show. JC Sherwood, as Phil said, I don't know why I had to repeat that. Just like hear my own name called.
Yeah.
It's an evil name. Now, okay, so I was thinking about Mr. Bigglesworth.
Yeah.
I think, and we have to suspend illusion here, or suspend reality here a bit, because it's the previous step. All right, there was a guy, I don't remember his name, Matt something. He was Roper's signal guy, right? And he's the one that signaled in the plays, and he wore this yellow hat and jumped around. It's kind of a goofy dude. I didn't hear anybody say anything bad about him for the previous step, but I never heard a whole lot good. They're just like, it's Roper's guy, He would be the perfect Mr. Bigglesworth in a Marcus Satterfield Dr. Evil skit. Come, Mr. Man in the yellow hat, signal in the plays.
Like,
we're going to run 1 million plays. Anyway, Clint says he's crossing the fingers for the Gator Bowl. I'd like that.
Yeah.
Krager says Tony thinks Lloyd can play but may not be 100%. Why is the board called Plano's PPG? I'll lean towards that, but I'll say this. Marshawn, hopefully he's not – because he wasn't 100% against Missouri. I still thought he was effective until he just could not go anymore. Hopefully he still runs with that rhythm and confidence. That's what would concern me. You get into the game, Marshawn's not getting it done just because he's not healthy, but you continue to try, and then he ends up with one of those games where he's like 9 carries for 22 yards.
Yeah, he's in and out. He can't get a rhythm. It's like, if he's hurt, hold him back. You have plenty of other talent on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
And we saw that last week. So use what you got and don't risk because you got 2 real big games coming up after this. The season's not over. So
I'll say it. Yeah, exactly. Why is it called Plano's PPG? Some people in the chat room are talking about it. Plano. Dan was his name. He kind of got this whole thing started on the internet with the Gamecocks, along with a guy named Ear Coop, who started fighting Gamecocks Forum back in the day, which was a prelude to Gamecock Central. Plano had a recruiting page called Plano's Page 3. Plano was getting up in the years, and I'll never forget it. He was a great poster, probably one of the best Gamecock message board posters of all time. Asked good questions, had good info, gave insightful opinions, was polite, was critical when he needed to be. It always made sense. And so right before him, the Muschamp era started, and he kind of liked the Muschamp era. He liked the way he recruited and stuff. It was right before that Thursday night game at Vandy. I think it was on a Monday, and he said, guys, I'm ending dialysis treatment. I will not be revived. And then he said, love the Gamecocks. And he passed away a day later. And I just felt, as the owner of the site, that that's something we should do. And I talked to John Whittle, and I don't remember who else was with us at the time. Tony was there, and Tony and all that. And we decided PPG was the Palmetto Proving Grounds. And that was our name of our board when we first started the Big Spur. I think we took it from the practice facility, right? And so we just changed it to Plano's PPG after that in honor of him. I don't know if his wife or anybody was aware of it, or his family, but we certainly actually, it's funny you say that, because I was actually thinking about him a couple days ago. I was just like, man, Plano. It's been a long time, and here's this other era now, and when he left this earth, he never. The last coach he saw coach a game was Sean Elliott, but the last head coach that started the season with him was Steve Spurrier, and we always kind of talk about things not being the same around here. On the internet, it's not the same, but without Plano, and so that's why. That's the deal there. 76 says, ugh, makes me sad. I remember most of this. Brett has something funny. He's like, I hate him, while stomping high heels and the phone cord not even plugged in. No, Grandma didn't get it while wearing high heels and the phone is unplugged. Okay. So anyway, there's the deal there. Kind of we're going between comedy and sadness right now. We have 3 mailbag questions. I'm going to go ahead and get to the one that we featured on TBS today. It comes in from Tristan, and he asked me how much of an impact do you think the loss of Mo Kaba and Jordan Strawn has had this season? I said I think it's been significant, not necessarily because Gilbert Edmond and Sherrod Green aren't good, but Kaba has explosiveness and all that, and I think Strawn could have contended for SEC honor just because he's such a good pass rusher, right? Not saying that the defense wouldn't have had any issues, and would have been this, wall of Gamecockdom, with those two, but you certainly miss them. And Phil, here's where I think you miss them the most. It's not that, it's kind of more about what's behind Gilbert Edmond and Sherrod Green.
Mm-hmm.
You got Brian Thomas Jr. out there as a true freshman on one side. Stone Blanton's another true freshman that's behind Green now. Whereas if Edmond and Green were kind of the number twos, that would have been a heck of a rotation. So, I think it's a depth issue more so than anything. I mean, obviously you miss that talent, but then when you're talking about having to give snaps that Edmond and Green would have normally gotten to true freshmen, that can be problematic on certain plays. So that's the deal, so I think that's it. But I appreciate the question coming in from Tristan. Here's another one from Pipe Man, Michael. Reading through Tony's thread tonight regarding the type of OC we're looking for, I would really like to see Rattler come back another year for another go. I've heard mixed things on that, so I don't know. And I'm going to continue to say I don't know until I do, because I think that's just something that depends on a lot of factors. Pains me to see his skill set go to waste on horizontal passes behind the line. You're about to set Phil off here. He hates behind the line passes.
Hey, can't stand that stuff either. Yeah, no, that's all right. We saw a different game plan last week. Let's hope it continues.
Yeah. When we do throw the ball past the line, it's always 4-step, 5-step drop back passes. Yeah, that 4 or 5-step drops will get you beat these days in college football. If you go to that well too much, it's never 2-3-step throws in the middle of the field. True, and I don't understand that either. With the right OC, if we can keep playmakers at receiver, I think Rattler would thrive the way he looked in 2020. I don't know if he's ever going to look like he did in 2020 because nobody played defense in that year, and he also was playing in the Big 12.
Yeah, it was a completely different animal of a league here.
Now, do I think he could and should have put up better numbers? Yes. Do I think he could be a heck of an SEC quarterback? Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm dead sure I remember you and Keith talking a few years about how undersized Tonka was coming out of high school. Maybe I misunderstood, but he looks pretty large on TV. He must have put time in the weight room. Either way, the guy's been fantastic this year. Yeah, well, he was, because he was like 255 because he's a multi-sport athlete and doesn't train and gain the weight for football. He plays baseball. I think he's a pitcher. But it was always known he was going to put it on. And that's why I never sit there and go, when a kid's skinnier, it's not about size for me when you're a recruit. It's about frame. Because if you're 6'2", 165 pounds, and you can play at 6'2", 190 as a DB or receiver, you're going to be pretty good, and that's the one thing. They can put the weight. You'd almost rather have, Phil, somebody that's lacking weight, because you can add weight, than maybe signing a 365-pound offensive guard, and you got to slim that bad boy down. I mean, and that's tougher. That's tougher to do with those big guys. I mean, I'd rather have frame, but yeah, no. And Tonka was at 305 last year, so he's plenty big, and he's playing very, very well. I mean, look at that daggone catch he made.
What an athlete! You could tell he's a 3-sport athlete right now after we've seen him this year, because he's just so versatile. He can do whatever you ask him to do.
I tell you what should be coming next is Tonka as a decoy on special teams.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
take it out to him. Find somebody else will be wide open, because I guarantee you, Florida and everybody else, we're talking about South Carolina special teams, they're going to sit there and go, watch out for 91.
Yeah, 91. Yeah, 91.
Yeah, so that's the deal there. All right, we have our guest in yet, Phil?
Not yet. I will let you know when Nick drops by.
Sweet. Foosball is the devil, especially for a Gamecock fan at times. Zach says, if Tanner Bailey doesn't play next year, he will transfer. I don't think that's accurate. Not right now. Zach says Tonka is a lot smaller than Pickens. Not sure who is lying about their weight. Well, Pickens is a bigger guy.
Mhm.
I don't know that anybody's lying about anything. Several will Zach if Rattler comes back. Yeah, I just don't know that Tanner Bailey is going to be one of them. I think there could be some other guys. So I think Tanner really likes it here. So Bacadino podcast is my bad guy, but thanks for the response. I'll just add that every week is different in football. Because we struggled against Vandy doesn't mean we'll struggle against UF. I don't know if they responded to me or not because I saw them earlier, but that's the truth, Phil. I mean, and people a lot of times, I don't understand why people don't get it. It's just like, man, just because this happened, I think it's more about the matchups. And when I've been right this year on picking games, that's kind of what I've looked at. It's the matchups. Yeah. I picked Vandy. The Vandy game I picked 31-21 because I thought Vandy could score. I thought the Missouri game, Carolina would play better on defense and maybe get a little bit more offense. So I was wrong about that. But A&M and Kentucky, I think the formula for this team and this offense this year has been the other team not having a good defense, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
the bad defensive teams they've played, they've been all right. So.
Yeah, we've been able to exploit some good matchups, so hopefully we can take that into this week too. I don't know. It's just because there's another narrative that this team is inconsistent, game to game.
I think it's true. I mean, I think that's true, but a lot of teams are. I mean, you kind of look at the Ole Miss defense. They were rocking and rolling, and one of the most improved units in the conference, and then about after the first quarter at LSU, they decided to stop playing defense at Ole Miss. They were like, we don't think we're going to play defense anymore. All right. So Zach says Tonka's at 295, Pickett's at 305. Tonka looks at least 20 pounds smaller. Might just be Pickett's stomach. So I say, yeah, be careful about trying to guess weight. There's a reason at the county fair they do that, and people win money. So.
Yeah.
You'll think
we've got Nick with us now, JC.
All right, let's get him on in.
Let's see here. Awesome. And joining us now on the Meredith McKellar Enterprises guest line is Nick Carparelli of Bowl Season. Good morning, Nick. Well, afternoon rather. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Great. Well, Nick, tell us about Bowl Season. I know this is kind of like a new brand that kind of popped up here a few years ago or something. Follow it on Instagram. Good stuff. I'm a bowl game fan and all that, but just kind of tell us overall kind of what Bowl Season is all about and what you guys do and all that good stuff.
Yeah, there's really two parts to Bowl Season. There's the public-facing side, and then there's the internal organization. So, Bowl Season, as we've known it for a long time, is that great 3-week time of year in mid-December to late January where we can watch 43 bowl games and, turn on the TV between, on a Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's. Don't even know what bowl game we're going to find. We just know we're going to find one. It's going to be, a great matchup and, occupies a very prominent place on the American sports calendar, and people look forward to it. In terms of our organization, we help to market and promote Bowl Season and the bowl system collectively. Each of the 43 bowl games has done a great job for a long time building their own brand. But the group came together 2 or 3 years ago and said, you know what, we need to pull together and promote ourselves as an entity, much like leagues do in college and professional. It's March Madness. It's not identical, but it's a time of year and it's a brand in and of itself. And we didn't outsmart ourselves. People have called that time of year Bowl Season for a long time, so we adopted that moniker, and here we are.
There's a lot of talk about with the expanded playoff coming and all of that, bowls are maybe on their way out. You got players opting out, but I have some friends that work for ESPN that kind of keep up with all this stuff. The TV ratings are still, compared to college basketball that time of year, the bowl ratings are off the charts. I'm kind of the opinion that's a false narrative. I think bowls are going to continue to move forward and be a part of this game. And I think it would be sad if that wasn't the case. Talk about kind of the health of the bowl games and kind of the where it fits in this ever changing world of college football with expanded playoff and all that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. First of all, the playoff is awesome. I'm a college football fan like everybody else, and college football needs a great mechanism to crown a national champion. But at the same time, even if it goes to 12 teams as they've planned, I don't know if it could ever get much bigger than that. Asking these kids to play 4 extra games before they entered the draft. I mean, I think there's going to be some problems with that, to be honest with you. But there's 130 FBS institutions. None of them are created equally. To have a postseason system with only 12 opportunities, there'd be a lot of people not doing their job. And bowl games have been giving programs that are trying to rebuild, programs that are trying to rise and build. Some of the newer programs we're seeing, and everything in between. When these teams and these student athletes have successful seasons, they need to be rewarded for that. And the bowl season provides that. Every other sport in college athletics, we're in basketball season now. You're going to see teams going to the Maui Classic and the Bahamas and all these other things. They go on foreign tours in the summer. Football teams can't do any of that. So, bowl season is kind of that type of event for these student athletes. It's also a reward for a successful season. It affords them extra practice time, extra exposure, helps them build the program. So yes, the college football playoff is one thing, but we have to stop with the narrative that if a bowl game doesn't factor into the national championship picture, that it's not meaningful, because it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, you look at South Carolina last year, the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl, and I think South Carolina won the game and did it pretty well. And they played a team that is an old rival of theirs in North Carolina, and it was in Charlotte. But I also think that the Mayonnaise Bowl people did as good a job as anybody at promoting their game. I mean, my goodness, their Twitter account's great and all that. And so it was meaningful for them. I think it was meaningful for Arkansas to win the Outback Bowl last year. I think, some of the teams that are in Group of 5 that get a shot at Power 5 teams, like a Houston beating an Auburn last year, it was big for those schools. So I'm right there with you on that. Well, South Carolina fans, they got bowl eligible, and a lot of talk about the Gator Bowl, maybe the Las Vegas Bowl. I know you don't know where they're going, but what do you think in terms of those bowl games tied with the SEC? Because I know the SEC, ESPN, everybody has a lot of say in where they're assigned. But what does a team really have to do, in your opinion, to get to the Gator Bowl? I mean, is it what are the factors that you see behind the scenes in terms of bowl selection?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of football left to be played. 3 more games. South Carolina's 6-3. Regardless of where you aspire to go in your bowl lineup, there's a big difference between 9-3 and 6-6, right? In terms of where you go to a bowl game. So, South Carolina has to keep taking care of their business, which they know. The SEC's bowl lineup is interesting. After the CFP and the New Year's Six, the Citrus Bowl gets to select next. And after that, they have a pool of bowl games: Gator, Las Vegas, Liberty, Music City, the old Outback, which is now the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, and then the Texas Bowl. SEC has the luxury of having that group of 6 bowl games that are very similar in terms of the quality of the opponent, the stature of the game, the payout they get. So there's really no need to slot them 3 through 8. There's a lot of common sense that at least they try to use common sense. Don't send somebody to a bowl game that they've been to last year or recently. Don't have repeat matchups. But it's a big puzzle. The SEC does it as well as anybody. Commissioner Sankey and Mark Womack's a great friend of mine. They'll sit down with their member institutions when the final standings are done. They'll sit down with their bowl partners, and they'll kind of piece it together and see if they can use some common sense. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it's an unsolvable puzzle, and you end up having a team go somewhere 2 times in a row. One of the advantages with the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Las Vegas Bowl partnership is it's every other year. So that's, Duke's isn't even in the lineup this year. So that there's no chance they can go to the same place 2 years in a row. But a lot of factors involved, a lot of football left to be played. I do know South Carolina is a great option from a fan base standpoint. And obviously they got a good team this year. So any bowl would be lucky to have them.
Las Vegas Bowl. A lot of people don't realize that because the first year of this new deal was during the pandemic. I don't think there was a Las Vegas Bowl. Kind of talk about the SEC getting involved. You don't see very many SEC Pac-12 matchups these days. There's some scheduled in the future, but getting out there and kind of having your brand in a West Coast market, and especially a great destination like Las Vegas, kind of speak to how that came about and, what the thought process was to kind of get the league, kind of reaching beyond its footprint to send a team out for a game.
Yep, that's a great question. So the SEC historically has kept their bowl opportunities within their, somewhat within their footprint. Obviously, with the exception of, national championship games and things where the destinations are set. The Las Vegas Bowl was a little bit of an experiment on their part. And as we talked about, they weren't all in. It's only two of the 4 years. The other 2 years is in Charlotte. So I think, their athletic directors, their coaches said, let's experiment with this a little bit. Conferences are becoming more national in nature. Some of them very much so. The SEC is at least contiguous still. There are some conferences that have big gaps of land in between member institutions, but I think that's an interesting experiment. How well will SEC fans travel to Las Vegas? It's certainly a fun place to go. If you're going to experiment with a bowl game outside of your footprint, Las Vegas is probably a pretty good place to try.
Yeah, Southwest Airlines, just about every airline, any major airport in the South, even the minor ones, you can get a flight out there pretty easily. And, there'll be some people that take their RVs out there. I promise you, like Cousin Eddie style for vacation. But, so that's really good. Well, Nick, we really appreciate you joining us. It's one of those things where when you look at the expanded playoff and all that, I actually look at it and see there's going to be more bowls involved on a yearly basis now. Am I correct in saying that? You'll have all 6 of the New Year's 6 hosting some sort of round every year, correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. The more will be involved for sure. I'm not sure if the CFP has determined if it's going to be those 6, involved in all the games every year, if there's going to be some new bowls coming in to have a bite at that. But no doubt, I mean, currently the semifinals are held in 2 games, 2 bowl games that rotate, and then the championship game is a standalone. It's going to be a similar, formula, but with the quarterfinal round, there's going to need to be 4 other bowl games in a given year that are involved in the playoffs. So that's exciting. Yeah,
it is. All right. Oh, well, Nick, we'll talk to you closer to probably closer to bowl selection and all that. Appreciate you joining us, and best of luck. I think you guys do great work with bowl season. Enjoy following all your stuff.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. Nick Carparelli from bowl season. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. 76 Gamecock says, not a fan of Birmingham. Me neither. I don't know why they have a bowl in Birmingham, to be honest. But you did make a point. Any other bowls way more appealing, particularly the surroundings. I don't like that stadium. I will remind you, they moved the Birmingham Bowl. UAB has a brand new stadium. It's smaller. It's quaint. It's about 35,000, about the size of Ole Miss's stadium.
Oh, jeez.
I always make fun. I mean, Ole Miss is bigger than I said, but it doesn't look that. Ole Miss, because they got like bleachers stacked on it. It's like a weird erector set.
Yeah, it is strange looking. Yeah.
Somebody told me one time, this old Alabama fan goes, there's 5A high schools in Alabama with better stadiums than Ole Miss. And I went and I was like, man, you're true. I mean, Mississippi State's got kind of almost looks like a smaller Williams-Brice style looking one, but Ole Miss, it's just kind of like, all right, hey, man, let's put some bleachers over here. All right, hotty-toddy. Can't beat the scenery there, too. Anyway, 76 says he appreciates Nick's info. Good info and understanding of the workings. Yeah, and I wish we had a little more time with him, but we kind of had to reschedule Jamie and all that good stuff. But it's good to get him in and talking about it. And, the bowl season thing is interesting. And I am pro bowl. Now that's something that went away finally. They needed to kill that thing. They needed to take that thing needed to get shot. Take it out to pasture. That's a horse with a broken leg there.
Yeah, it was.
So thank God. And see, I think too, Phil, when they expand this playoff, the perfect time to have the college national championship, and they're sitting there talking about, we're still going to have it on a Monday or whatever. Man, why not just wait till that week between NFC and AFC in the Super Bowl, and they're like, "Oh, the kids," and whatever. That's gargly goo bull crap right there.
Yeah, I mean they're used to practicing anyway, so just keep practicing for another week or two.
Why not? Zach says Gator ReliaQuest, which is the Outback or Music City, would be nice. I'm for this. Gator or Vegas? Gator or Vegas? And it could be that there's an Inside the Gamecocks the show live from Las Vegas.
Hey,
live from Las, live from Las Vegas. Phil could dress up like Frank Sinatra. It'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah, no.
I have no idea.
Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton. Yeah, there you go. Wayne Newton, baby. Joey says JC is White Campbell, played the past couple games. Don't remember seeing him this past weekend. Yeah, it's hard to catch him. I don't know if he's maybe played special teams or not. I'll check on that.
I did see him on offense for at least one play this past weekend. I did
against Vandy.
Just one, at least one I can confirm against Vandy.
Yeah, they may, who knows? They may not be. Who knows? These little packages that actually work, a lot of times you don't see them. Last year, the Trey Jones fullback package, I thought it worked pretty well. You just never saw it. 76 says, I feel as though I'm the only soul on the planet that has yet to make an appearance in Vegas.
No, I have not been to Vegas myself, 76.
I did not get – first time I went was 2011, 2010? 2010, because I was in Las Vegas, and the same day Alabama played South Carolina, and the Gamecocks beat them. Because Alabama was playing South Carolina, Clemson was playing North Carolina on the road. And I put $100 on Bama and $100 on North Carolina. And then I was like, I'm either going to be happy or happy.
Right. I love bets like that.
I know. So, sorry, not North Carolina, Clemson. I bet on Clemson to win and Carolina to win. And I'm like, either be happy or happy. So, and Lance says he wants the Gator Bowl for nostalgic reasons. Yeah, when I was a kid, man.
Yeah, I'm leaning Gator too because it would be great.
The way I felt when they lost to LSU in that Gator Bowl in '87, a bad taste in my mouth. So, nevertheless, anywho, we got Jamie teed up.
Yeah, we're ready to go, man. Let's hit the break and come back with JB.
JB, after these messages here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at @MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch, nanasporch.com. Go there, food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox!
And tip our hats and raise our glasses of cold beer.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. We're joined now by Jamie Bradford, on the McKellar Enterprises guest line. Thank you for working with our crazy schedule this week, JB.
Oh, it's no big deal. I spent about 30 minutes on the phone with our dear friend Mike Morgan this morning. Anyways, just beating up on JC, so I got plenty of time in.
Yeah, there it was. You know, I forgot. I loaded our show and I forgot to send the tweet out Tuesday. So I sent it out today. Hopefully he doesn't think I sat on that bad boy for 48 hours because I didn't. But I got to catch up with Mike later anyway. Hope Mike is doing well. Hope you're doing well. You look weird without a hat on, but that's just
yeah. I came out of my office and I said, "Oh,
poo."
I was like, "Where's my hat?" But
yeah, it's like that's a little different look for you there, JB. But good to be with us. Okay, so
classing up the place. Hey, by the way, screw Wayne Newton. Tried to break up a happy home by getting between Clark W. Griswold and Miss Ellen. I mean, I haven't liked him since Vegas Vacation came out. So screw Wayne.
I didn't like Vegas Vacation all that much.
Russ? I like them all.
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't. I just don't know how you could ever top Christmas Vacation.
Well, you can't. You can't. But I mean, like, you got to admit when his arm was soaking wet from them trying to join the Mile High Club, and he said birthmark.
Birthmark. That was funny. That's hilarious. The egg making the shoot. Yeah, it's and then the one with is it Jason Sudeikis? I don't know. Sudeikis. No, that's the other guy that was in The Hangover. He's Clark's kid. Ed. What's his name?
Yeah.
Ed Grimley. No, not Ed Grimley. Ed something else. Anyway, that one was good and nostalgic and all that. Because then, because you had the first two, and then Christmas Vacation just knocked them both out of the water because it had so much truth in that movie.
Nick Papa Giorgio.
Nick Papa Giorgio.
Nick Papa Giorgio.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, when Vacation came out, one of my childhood girlfriends, Christina Applegate, I had to watch that. So,
she's not doing too well. She got MS.
I know.
It makes me sad.
And it makes me really sad.
Probably the hottest girl on television, and then not really good looking in the Anchormans, and then in that Vacation, and then just having a hard time. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers to Christina Applegate. Thank you for Anyway, I'm not going to go.
I turned
there.
this thing on its head in a hurry, didn't I?
Yeah, it's crazy. Krager says he saw 3 nights of Ween in Vegas, and not one person in this chat box has ever heard of him. I've actually heard of Ween.
Yeah.
I grew up in the.
Come up. Yeah, I know Ween. Yeah.
Do that again, Phil.
Push a little daisies and make them come up.
Oh my God.
There we go. We've heard of Wayne. We're from the 90s here. Don't do it. All right, so basketball. We'll start with basketball because I'll ask her.
Speaking of the 90s.
Chris, our other guest. Yeah, but pretty good in basketball back then. Your takeaways from Tuesday night and thoughts about tomorrow. I saw the ESPN prediction machine. Thinks Carolina's going to win. They beat Clemson in basketball.
I do too.
But thoughts and takeaways from that. Looks like a lot of the fans have a real positive attitude about it, because I think some of them were just ready for some change and something new. I thought they looked good. I mean, it was a game that could have gotten away from them, but it didn't, and a win's a win. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I thought, the game was closer than I personally thought it would be, for a couple of reasons, but I also kind of thought that this whole Lamont Paris era, the beginning of the Lamont Paris era, was going to have some ups and some downs and some things to figure out. And, we talked to Bill Monday morning. We talked about basketball a little bit, and I mentioned to him, I said, look, I don't think that I'm like giving away some big secret here. I hope most people understand this, but, G.G. Jackson is a 17-year-old kid. He is not going to be the savior of the basketball program, at least right now. Does he have the ability to work himself into being unbelievable? Yep, you betcha. He is that good. There's no doubt. But he's also 17, and they've brought in a ton of new faces. So it's going to take some time to get things figured out, right? And I personally believe that, first of all, I like the offense. Hey, if you got it, you're open, shoot it. I like that. Basketball players today, I'm 5'9". I've never claimed to be a basketball player by any stretch of the imagination, but today's day and age, like you gotta be able to get your guys confident, and they gotta be able to shoot. They gotta be able to score. If you can't score, you can't win. And that was a lot of the problem under Frank, of course. So yeah, I like that. I really hope to continue to see the development of Josh Gray down low. I think he can just be an absolute force in the SEC. He's a physical nightmare. So yeah, I liked what I saw. I really did. I like the energy, and I just hope that tomorrow night there's a lot of energy in the CLA to beat Clemson. Boy, that'd be a nice start for Lamont Paris, 2-0 with a win over Clemson, which, by the way, props to both schools for playing this game, when students are actually around, because it never made sense to play in the middle of December when people were out for Christmas break.
Yeah, it's kind of like Florida State and Georgia Tech both, I think, play in November before the break and all that, and it's they get some good crowds.
It's a rivalry.
Yeah, they actually play that the night before the football game down in Florida.
I agree. I thought we should do that for a long time. I know students aren't necessarily there, but everybody will be there. Everybody's in town for
Thanksgiving. Because remember, Thanksgiving's a meal, not a holiday.
Not here.
According to Muschamp. Will Muschamp said that. Thanksgiving's a meal, not a holiday.
Yeah.
All right, Will. that did not endear him very well. Brent Brooks says, what's going on, Gamecock Nation? And lots of questions in here for you, JB, about the game Saturday at the Swamp. I think it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. South Carolina is playing another team that's not very good on defense. They have the playmakers to score. I think the creativity or whatever you want to call it, like that happened against Vandy, that offense they were running, with or without Marshawn Lloyd, I think they need to keep that going and build on it. I think the big concern is defensively, and I think it's a little bit of recency bias that they didn't get off to a good start against Missouri, and then they kind of rallied, and then Vandy was just kind of a disaster on defense. And I know people were going in and out. They were hurt. I think Vandy's a pretty good offensive team. But you got to stop. You got to keep Anthony Richardson in the pocket. You got to find a way to at least slow the Gators' run. When they rushed for over 200 yards, they were 5-0. Less than 200, they're like 0-4. Gamecock's chances to slow the Florida run.
No, not right now. Not good because last weekend, if you can't seal those edges, you can't stop the run. And when Richardson gets out there, it could be a long day. I think let's give Florida's defense has not been one of the better defenses we've seen out of the Gators, no doubt. Let's also remind ourselves they've played Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee, and I think LSU by now has proven their worth, right, guys? So. We know Tennessee has, we know that Georgia has. Tennessee hung almost 40 on them, which is actually a low scoring day for the Vols. LSU put up 45 and Georgia put up 42. So those numbers are going to inflate what they've done defensively a little bit, regardless of who else they played. And, last weekend, if you look at the score, 41-24, you got a couple of things to kind of consider there as well. I'm not saying that it wasn't an earned road victory in the SEC because I can't stand when other people try to make those excuses for South Carolina. Oh, this guy was out and that guy was out. You go on the road and win in the league, you deserve credit no matter what happens. So Florida deserves credit for winning by 17 points. You do, though, need to also have the conversation of A&M had like 20 guys out with the flu. And then also, have they just kind of tossed it in over there? I just don't really know if I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I'm really not at all. Because Florida has certainly had their issues this year as well, and that's what they're focused on. We're focused on our issues. You got your own issues, that's fine, but somebody has to win the game. And Florida had the least amount of issues, and Richardson was able to run it and throw it and things like that. So I don't – while it is an impressive road win, I don't know how much stock you really put into it. Here's the stock that I put in. We already mentioned to the run game. Florida has not turned the football over in over a month. October the 8th, the last time they turned the football over in that game against Missouri. So they've played 3 or 4 straight games without one. That's concerning. Carolina can't win without turnovers. They have to force turnovers in the game on Saturday in order to have a chance.
Yeah, and then you can look at it two ways. Are they due to turn it over, or have they fixed it? And is ball security a strength of this team? They're number 1 in the SEC in turnover margin. So they do force their share too. I don't think there's any illusion that Carolina can go down there and not at least be even in the turnover battle and win the football game. That's just my take on that. Florida on defense, you mentioned, they're not very good, whatever. And they did lose Brenton Cox, who was one of their few, elite talents and all that. They still have Ventrell Miller and some guys like that. But what they are is fast. Jamie, you can be a fast defense and not a good defense. I'll still never forget 2017, and they come up here and they have an interim coach. I think Chris Rump's calling the defense for them. Jake throws 3 interceptions in the first quarter, and I think it's just because they had trouble adjusting to Florida's speed. Because they got a lot of fast guys, they're a split second faster than most of the teams you play in the SEC.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, Florida always, I think you say this often, JC. Florida always has players. It's not like they're depleted of talent ever. Like they're never depleted of talent, actually. They might be a little loose at a couple of positions here and there, but but they're always capable of beating pretty much anybody they play for the most part, because they always have a bunch of players. And if things go right that day, there's a good chance that their players are as good, if not better, than yours. So This is a game. It's just crazy how it's kind of changed itself around a little bit. And I think for us, it's changed itself around more on the fact that, it's almost like nobody really cares that Carolina got bowl eligible against Vanderbilt last week. Like everybody still can close their eyes and watch what happened in the Missouri game. And it's going to take another wasn't supposed to win it type game that they win in order to kind of overcome that, right? Because what happened after the Missouri game was everybody, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying I disagree, like kind of reverted back to, oh my God, this offense is just bad. That's why we lost the game, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward to Saturday, and then you got on College Game Day, 4 of the most respected analysts in the sport dogging South Carolina on national TV. Don't blame them. They're not wrong. And, and then they go out there that night and they beat Vanderbilt. Well, nobody respects Vanderbilt. They haven't won a game in the league in like 4 years, guys. Like, I don't care how close they've been. I don't care that they've got better players. I like Clark Lee. Doesn't matter. They hadn't won a game in the SEC in like 4 seasons. So nobody really cares. So it's it's almost like they have forgotten that the Gamecocks beat Vandy and got to bowl eligibility, and they're just blocking it out. It's like Missouri to Florida. Wow, if we play Missouri again, Florida's going to embarrass us in the swamp. And then you add on top of that the fact that everybody knows what follows it. Tennessee could very easily walk into Williams-Brice Stadium and light up the night with orange. And then you got to go to the upstate, and everybody clearly is very, aware of what can happen up there. It's been happening for a while around here, unfortunately. So it's not just the fact that it's like the fear factor right now for Carolina fans of if we go down and we do what we are very capable of doing, which is not playing well, and get beat in the swamp, we're going to finish the season losing 3 straight games. So here we are again. It's another prove it opportunity for Shane Beamer, and it's also an opportunity to win their 3rd straight game on the road.
Yeah, that hadn't happened in a while with all that. I looked at Juice Wells, and I'm almost tired of talking about it because we talked about Jaheim Bell needing the ball more. He finally got it, played running back last week, got more touches, targets, snaps, whatever you want to say. I almost wish that we'd have gone on a crusade for Juice Wells because, look, whereas, Jaheim at running back is effective, probably better as a change-up guy, not your starting guy. Juice Wells is elite, man. I mean, it seems like every time, I mean, and especially the other night, he's hungry to make a play. He goes and he goes and makes them, Still only 4 catches in the game. I don't know how many times you got to throw it to him and he's got the least little bit of space and he weaves his way and scores a touchdown to realize you need this guy to get the ball more and not necessarily all the time behind the line of scrimmage. I did think they did a good job of throwing it downfield to him a little bit more against Vandy. Your take on Juice and sort of his usage and, what your thoughts are on what they could possibly do to get him more touches.
Well, I mean, the first game of the season, we fired up this show the Wednesday afterwards, and I looked you both right in this camera and said, Juice Wells is your best receiver. Mm-hmm. I saw that the first series of the year. Just watching him get off the line of scrimmage, I was like, oh, my God, this guy. Good luck stopping him. I mean, you could tell. You could see it day one. And so, I mean, I'm kind of past the conversations of why doesn't this guy get the ball more and that guy get the ball more because we just go around it and we're circling the drain with that every week. There's really no point in doing it. I will say this. Y'all know me. I don't really try to ever pat myself on the back or anything, but didn't I mention DeCarrion Joyner at quarterback last week right here on the show?
You did?
Yeah.
So, look, it's one – guys, he's a quarterback. Like that's all he is. He's not what everybody's tried to make him. I mean, he's capable of doing other things. He is a quarterback. And I truly think that in a couple of years, if not sooner, there is going to be a conversation that stirs itself up on here or God knows where, 107.5 The Game or whatever. Should he have actually been playing quarterback his entire tenure at South Carolina, and would he have been better than all the guys that played in front of him? Now, I'm talking about Rattler. I'm talking about everybody that played last year and everybody that played before that. Obviously, like these things, we all have kind of memory loss from time to time, right? We remember what we want to remember, and we don't remember what we don't want to remember. But every time we've watched this kid actually get in there and actually be given the opportunity to play quarterback, not just run the football up the middle, something happens. Literally every time. And so at some point in time, we're going to have this conversation of if it worked every time he was in there, why the hell didn't we do it more? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying like at the expense of Spencer Rattler, because I thought he had an outstanding game last week. He is so good when you roll him out of the pocket. And on top of that, by the way, as critical as we always are, major props and credit to Marcus Satterfield. And let me tell you why. Because early in the ball game, he did what was necessary to get simple, easy throws for Spencer Rattler. He moved him around, he got him comfortable, and he was able to let him go out there and hit a couple of easy targets to get him into the ball game and get him much more comfortable. Okay, that's not always the case. All right, and they do need to run the football in order to win. We all know that. but also part of the formula with Spencer Rattler is getting him into the game. And I thought that Sat, I was talking to Flynn about this last week. I thought Sat was outstanding early in the game and getting him comfortable and getting his feet underneath him so he could have a big night. So everybody can criticize him all they want to. And I criticize him as much as anybody else does. But he was really, really outstanding there, and hopefully something similar comes along with it this week.
I'm going to say putting DeCarrion in, and I'm with you. After the bowl game last year, I started thinking, I was like, well, let's look at this kid for a minute. Okay, so I guess he saw some mop-up duty against Charleston Southern. In that game, he had a big run at quarterback. The Georgia game in 2019, he goes in and, kind of saves the day. I mean, they didn't score or anything, but he didn't turn it over. He had some drive extending plays, both with his feet and his arm. And that's, that helped melt the clock. I mean, Georgia was knocking on the door all day. Izzy McWambu is not going to intercept 2 more passes, chances of that are pretty slim. But, you sort of looked at it and then, okay, all of a sudden, when's he a quarterback again full-time? Won the bowl game last year. He's 9 for 9 and was the MVP. And then the other night, on the big play to Juice, he gets pressure. He feels it. He rolls out, stays calm, finds his guy, touchdown. And went 3 for 4 in the game, and that opened up some run.
Juice there because that kid left his cleats on the field trying to get back in cover.
No doubt. And I think in my opinion, he is so much more of a natural football player when he's playing quarterback than when he's in any other position. I think he helps.
He's instinctive, man.
Mm-hmm. He helps so much. He's got a lot of natural ability, and I almost think that it helped. Like maybe calm Spencer down a little bit, when DeCarrion goes out there, makes a big play, and that was after Spencer's touchdown, and Spencer kind of settled in and had a good game. And I also agree with you. I think some of the things they were doing to get Rattler going early are things they should have been doing all year. I mean, the way that offense looked, just structurally, attacking the whole field, spreading out the other team, that's kind of been the formula for me most of the season. I know they won 5 games before that without really doing it all that much, but that's kind of been the formula for me. But I'm with you right there on DK. So if Lloyd goes or not goes or doesn't go, I still think they need to not abandon what they did schematically against Vandy, because I think that could be problematic. Even if Lloyd plays, I think it's going to be even tougher to stop.
Yeah, well, they got to run. They have to run the football. And last week they mixed a lot of dudes in with a lot of different things to try to get that done. And they know that. I mean, they know that they have to run the football or they lose. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. So, I mean, they have to do it. JC, I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to win because it just has this strange smell to this ball game. That it's almost like it's time again for one more big play somewhere on defense or special teams. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, when you look at the numbers and stuff, there's not a lot to learn except for I mentioned earlier that Florida hasn't turned it over in a little while. But, like, when Carolina is confident, they also win. And coming off of that game last week, there's a bunch of stuff that happened in the game that have given them some confidence. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I think that there's going to just be a lot of boogered up stuff, and we're going to be looking around going, what the hell is happening out here today? Kind of reminiscent of, like you said, 17 in Williams-Brice Stadium. Maybe not that crazy, like the whole pick, fumble thing. I actually think that somehow, some way, after this game, we're going to be scratching our heads going, man, we might get our ass beat the next 2 weeks, but we have won 7 games, and I don't know how it happened. I think they're going to win. I really do. I think it's going to be somewhere. It's going to be tight. It's going to be somewhere in the 20s, and somehow they're going to get out of the swamp with another victory. Where, by the way, they've won a few times since Steve Spurrier came to South Carolina.
Yeah, so they won there twice and sent Muschamp to packing and sent Urban Meyer packing in a different type of way. And also,
Should have won a few more times
on the ropes. Yeah, I mean,
old weed smoking Jarvis Moss back in 06.
06 and 2018 were just brutal losses to the Gators down there. You can go all the way back to 2000 when the Gamecocks had them down with a trip to Atlanta on the line. Spurrier, of course, he always does. He adjusted.
The crazy thing is, I'd say in the last. I know in the last. I mean, unless I'm missing something here, I know 08 was just a nightmare.
Awful. Yeah.
But that was 56-6. That was a train wreck of train wrecks. But the craziest thing outside of that, like the biggest blowout in the swamp was 2012 when Muschamp, his offense didn't even have 200 yards, and they beat us by 33 points.
Florida had 178 yards to Carolina's 179, and they won 44-11. It was the most champion victory during his career at Florida there. That's good. All right, Jamie, thanks for joining us today, and we appreciate you. And that's
glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody that's listening or watching, happy Veterans Day tomorrow to every single one of you. Thank you. This is one of my favorite days of the year every year, and I always try to go somewhere and buy a veteran a meal or something if I can. So appreciate all of your service, and go USA.
USA. So birthday of the Marine Corps today too. Semper Fi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah.
God
We
bless
love
my
that.
my landscaper Clayton is a former U.S. Marine, so I hope he's not cutting grass in this hurricane.
Gotcha. All right, man. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you. Go Cox.
That's Jamie Bradford, who joins us on Thursday this week instead of Wednesday, and we're about to wrap it up. Mac and Dino did make a good point to get Xavier Leggett involved. I think they need to keep using him like they've been doing, running, catching, whatever, because I think he's playing with a lot of confidence now. He's certainly big and fast enough. All right, so we've got some confidence. We got to get out of here. Tomorrow, we have Flint Wando coming on, correct?
We have Flint, and I'm still working on see if any one of these Gator people want to come talk to us. They're all kind of scared. Nobody's getting back in touch with me. I think they're about as nervous as we are about this game.
I feel that, yeah. All right, well, Gator or no Gator, we'll be with you tomorrow inside the Gamecocks podcast. Don't forget, you can get this on Apple Pods, iTunes, Spotify. It's archived on YouTube, so you can always go back and check it out if you missed the live show. For Phil Mullinax, JC Sherbert, inside the Gamecocks show. Wrap it up on a Thursday. Talk to you tomorrow, folks.